Oh, you silly thing. I know we came in here to get some Christmas gifts. Oh, excuse me. Welcome to Channel 23, and this show is, as you might remember, is called The Faces of Carlsbad, and we're sponsored by Intrepid Potash. And as you can see, today we are, well, my dog Meatloaf and I, we're at the beautiful Candlewood Card and Gift Shop in 104 South Canyon Street in Carlsbad, and we're interviewing some very nice people today. Well, at least one nice person. And I'd like to introduce Meatloaf. You're going to have to get down. I've got to talk. You behave. Anyway, Meatloaf and I have been enjoying this beautiful arrangement of Christmas gifts, and suddenly I ran across a very nice lady I've known for many years, Josie Methola. Now, I don't know if any of you people have seen Josie in the past, but I'm sure you have, because she's been around this town for a number of years. Right, Josie?
Yes, sir.
Well, I want to welcome you to the show.
Nice to be here.
Now, what we do on this show, and by the way, we've done quite a few of them, and we've only had one or two people faint on us. And we don't want you to faint, okay? We go into the early years of Josie, where she was born, where she grew up, the school she attended, and then we bring her up into, say, 20 or 30 years ago, when she's really starting a great career someplace. And then we end up with our program talking about what's in the future for Josie. So let's start at the very beginning. Where were you born, and give us a backlog talk on the early days.
Yes, I was born in Pecos, Texas. Then my parents moved here, and I've always lived here. Went to school here in Carlsbad.
What schools did you attend in Carlsbad?
I went to Kraft, and then later Edison School.
Oh, yes.
And Alta Vista, and then up to the high school. Graduated in 1969.
1969?
Yes.
Oh, you're just a youngster.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
And went to beauty school and worked in a beauty shop for several years. Then worked in a meat market a few more years, and then...
Wait a minute. You worked in a beauty shop.
Yes.
And then you went to a meat market.
Yes, I was a meat wrapper.
Did you ever meet my dog, Meatloaf?
No,
Oh, no, you never met Meatloaf?
No, sir.
So, which job did you prefer?
I enjoyed all of them, really. I liked, well, working at the beauty shop, I see ladies now that I used to work on, so you meet a lot of nice people. And then in the market, I worked with Bob Dukas from Lakeside.
Oh.
And then later, I started with the senior volunteer programs.
Yeah, I want to get involved in that. Did you basically retire from your regular work jobs, or did you decide you're too young to retire?
I stopped working at the time because I had my children, and then stayed home a while till they grew up some, and then later decided to go back to work, and then got into...
How many children did you have?
We have 3.
3 children?
2 sons and a daughter.
Now, do they live in Carlsbad?
Yes, all 3 of them live here.
Ah.
And we have 11 grandchildren and 1 great-grandchild.
Well, you're going to have to mention to come down to this beautiful Candlewood Card and Gift Shop, because there's some beautiful gifts behind us. Look at those. They're magnificent.
Yes.
So what does your husband know? What did he do?
He works at the mines at Mosaic. In fact, he'll be retiring in December also. So we will both be retiring the end of the year, 32 days. So.
Well, before we get to the part of retiring, you raised your 3 children, and what schools did they attend in Carlsbad? The same ones, basically, that you did?
Yes, Joe Stanley Smith, Alta Vista, and then the high school.
Alta Vista is a very, very nice school.
Yes.
I always enjoy going over there. They always make me feel at home. So, your parents basically lived in Texas. Did they originate in Texas?
Yes, they did. Then they moved to Carlsbad and always lived here until they both passed on. So they were always from here.
Well, they picked a nice city, didn't they?
Oh yes,
Yeah, this is a
definitely.
beautiful city. How many cities have a Channel 23? Not many. I mean, locally. There are a lot of Channel 23s, but they don't do local shows. But we're very fortunate. Now, you got involved in the senior center work. What drew your attention to that?
Well, I was staying at home, and a friend of mine asked me if I was interested in starting to work part-time. I said, sure, why not? My kids were getting older, so that's where it started, and started working with the RSVP program and have been with it ever since.
The RSVP program?
Yes,
That's what
Retired
it's called.
Senior Volunteer Program.
Oh, I see. That's what sometimes they put out the bottom of the letters,
Yes.
in French, which I always
Yes.
mangle the language. It's not the French fault, it's my fault. So anyway, you got started in that.
Yes.
And where was it first held, in the senior center?
Okay. When we first started, we were at the Mesa Senior Center. We were there a couple of years. Later, we were in the basement at City Hall. And then after that, they moved us to the San Jose Senior Center, where I stayed most of the time.
You say they moved it at one time to the basement of the...
Yes, we were in the basement at City Hall.
My goodness.
They have a couple of offices down there, and that's where we were at the beginning.
And you started serving food down there too?
No, my program, I only worked with seniors in the community that are volunteering with nonprofits. Like right now, I'm at the San Jose Senior Center, and they do have meals there. But we're not really involved with the meals, just indirectly, but seniors are there, and they're a part of our lives every day.
Can anybody wander in and pay for the food and have a lunch?
Yes, they have a warm meal every day. They start serving at 11:30 to 12:30, and anyone that wants a warm meal is welcome to go. They do ask for a donation, but when the programs originally started, it was to help seniors that were having a hard time getting a meal or whatever reason. And they could go and have a warm meal. They didn't have to give a donation, it's up to you. And even till now, if you don't have the money, you just go and get a meal.
So if Mr. Lutman, who's my boss, if he suggested, are you hungry? We could both go down and we'd be fed.
They have to be 60 and over.
Well, he's only 39, so we'll have to,
Then
I would qualify.
Then he would have to pay $6 or $5 to get a meal there. And again, some of the seniors that are there, they don't have anyone else in their family. They've outlived their families, or their families have moved out of town, and they're by themselves, and they go there for fellowship also. Instead of staying home, they go and visit with just everyday people there, and they really enjoy it. I know a lot of them that don't have any family members in town. They hate for the weekend to come because we are closed on the weekends.
Oh, yes.
And
that's
so
right.
they just hate, especially a long weekend. We're happy that we're going to have an extra day off, but them, they're lonely. They say, we're just at home by ourselves. Nobody visits them. They don't have a warm meal. And so it is sad, that part is very touching, because you'd be surprised how many people don't see other people, that they're homebound, and again, it's a shame that a lot of times they do have family, but they're not coming around them.
And
for
so
whatever
many,
reason.
so many people in the cities, they don't realize we have people out there who are lonely.
Yes, exactly. And I guess that's why I always enjoyed my program, because our program was geared at getting people to do volunteer work in the community, to nonprofits. And a lot of times, like going to rest homes, actually it's also getting the senior involved in the community where they're not just staying home. That was the main thing, to get a person out that's retired to do volunteer work in the community, and where they'll be around other people. And again, I've always said this, you meet a person that volunteers and is around other people, they're happier, they're not as lonely, and yet someone that never gets out, they're lonely, they're miserable, they're mad at the world. And you can tell the difference of a lot of people.
Now, when they come in during the week, there are different games they can play. What are some of the games that they seem to prefer?
Right now, they can just do some activities, but a lot of them just want to come, have a meal, and go back home, take their naps.
Is that right?
But they have like line dancing there that they could do. A lot of the women are involved in that.
By
a lot
the way,
of the men.
You mentioned line dancing. I want to stop you for a moment.
Sure.
I understand they're going to be doing some of that in the next week, or they're practicing down there right now. I talked to a man yesterday who was in that line dancing group. He's the only man in it.
Yes, yes, I've seen him.
What a man, huh?
Yeah. Well, more men ought to do it. They want to, but they're shy.
Yeah.
And more men got into it, they'd enjoy it, plus they're exercising, but you ought to go join them.
My wife always said I was one of the worst dancers she ever had the misfortune to dance with, so I decided that's not for me. So do they play bingo also down there?
Yes, on Tuesday afternoons they have bingo, and whatever money is collected does go out to the participants. They do blood pressure checks Tuesday mornings and check their sugar levels. They try to keep something going every day, and besides the meal at noon. Some get involved in some crafts. They have a group that's doing quilting, and then they have some that work on ceramics, and they basically have something going almost every day.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And people need to get out and utilize what's out there. A lot of them don't, but like we get calls from family members from out of town that have a parent here, and they're wanting to know information of what's available over there, and just wanting them to get down there to be around people where they're not at home by themselves.
And so many of these people who are not involved in the program, they could stop by.
Yes.
It's free, and to go in and just observe for a while.
Yes, they're welcome any day. They're open 8 to 5 every day, except, of course, weekends. But they even have exercise equipment if they want to come and walk on the treadmills, and just being around people is a great deal.
Some of those guys, men in particular, could get on those exercise machines and prepare to join the Alaska Coast Guard.
Yes, they could. They even have some pool tables that the men sort of stick to that.
You do have pool tables?
Yes, they have, I believe, 3 tables, and several of the men go every morning, drink their coffee, and get together and play pool and go on home, or have their meal and then go home.
So they can come in and sit down and have a cup of coffee too?
Sure, every morning, and they usually have donuts or some kind of sweets for them. They'll have coffee and tell some other stories, and then go on home later.
And all I do is sit with my cats and meatloaf over here and look at the ceiling. Well, I watch Channel 23 because I want to see all the nice people we've interviewed, but that's not me. All right, now you're planning to retire shortly, correct?
Yes.
Now the question arises, once you retire, and this time it'll be an official retirement.
Yes.
I don't believe it, Josie. I know you're going to volunteer for something just as
Well, I
certainly
will
as
volunteer. I do plan to volunteer a couple of places, but it'll be a little while before I do.
Yeah.
And I want to volunteer at my church, and just different things. And of course with my grandkids also. That'll keep my husband and I busy.
Yeah, I'm sure. What do you have any hobbies at all?
I like to do crafts. Just anything to keep busy, really. I don't see myself as getting bored. My husband and I are very active, so we'll stay busy.
And that's the only way to go in this lifetime.
Definitely, yes.
Now you plan to stay in Carlsbad, I hope.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
good.
I wouldn't leave my family, they're all here. We've been very blessed that they're all here, so we would stay here.
Yeah, that's great. Do you have any idea now the center will continue, I trust?
Oh, yes, the center will, yes. As far as the program, they're telling us it will keep on, but we don't know for sure. That's still apparently in the works because our program was cut back. The funding, like everything else, my federal funding was cut about 40%.
Oh, no.
So that makes it very hard to keep the program for the volunteers going. So,
Well, that's sad because we send millions and millions of dollars every week to different foreign countries, and we cut back programs like this about for our own people.
yeah, it is.
It's,
Well, like everything else, things are being cut back, and,
Yeah.
and I hate that. But I'm funded through federal and state. That's where I get my funding from.
did the state cut back at all?
No, in fact, the state gave us a little bit more,
That's good.
and but it didn't give us enough to replenish what federal took off. You know, so and then again, I do know that some of the RSVP programs have been cut back in other communities, like Artesia doesn't have one, and they had closed the one in Las Cruces, and I believe the one in Deming. So they're just cutting back different programs.
Do they give any reason why? Because this is so sad to hear this.
Just cutting back on funding, and they're just doing it really. Mainly the funding part, and maybe they don't see a need for it. I don't know really, but
Well, this is what bothers me. You're working so hard down there, you and the staff, and you're making a lot of people happy. Do these guys who cut back these things, do they ever come by to see what's being done?
we usually get a site visit like once a year or every other year.
Yeah.
They check our reporting. You know, we do have to report to them all the time, and at this point, I know our state office was even in jeopardy of maybe even getting closed down. So it's just not locally;
Yeah,
it's all
yeah.
around, you know. So
That's so sad,
yes, it is.
because
you
the
know.
program that you carry out is magnificent. That's unbelievable.
And there's a lot of caring people out there that do volunteer work, that just visiting an elderly, another elderly, or taking them a meal. You know, I don't know if people don't get the idea when they're old that they're practically abandoned, it seems like, and for whatever reason. But you can do something so minor, and these people really appreciate it because
Oh,
nobody else is doing it for them. You know, like take for instance my coworker Mary Lopez.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, we were cleaning their eyeglasses there at the center.
Yeah.
That's something so minor, but they appreciate it so much. It's something so minor as to just come clean their eyeglasses, and you know, we'll do that like, you know, once in a while, or like every other week or something, you know. But it doesn't take money to do it. Just help somebody.
When the people see this on Channel 23, I hope it wakes up a lot of people to say, hey, we've got to do something to help these programs. So,
I wish they would.
well, all I can say, Mary, is, Josie, I'm thinking of, you just mentioned Mary, and I know
Yes.
Mary too. Josie, I want to thank you for being our guest today. This has been a real pleasure. And on
pleasure.
behalf of Meatloaf down here, my dog, we want to thank you for
Thank
just
you.
spending time with us. And I hope you didn't become too nervous and feel faint.
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. Thank you
Thank
so much.
you.
On behalf of Channel 23, we want to say goodbye and good luck, and hope to see you soon.
I'm Joseph Methola, and happy holidays to all of you. And if you would like to volunteer, come join us at the center. Give us a call at 887-0871. We would love to have you at the center. Come and join us, and happy holidays.